Okay, I'm back. I'm back and I'm just getting off Wi-Fi. So tell me, is this better? Okay. Okay, so apparently this is much better.
Much better.
Much better. Okay, so we talked about the pros and cons, the blessing and curse of social media, which is the B in Bright Minds. So pros, connection, information, community, staying in touch with people when you're physically not in the same place, even in different countries or states, which I miss my dad a lot, who's in Tennessee, but he can't figure out how to work the FaceTime, much like I don't know how to work the live. And then the cons are fake news, clickbait for advertisement dollars, and companies banking on your fear. And so R is reliable sources. So my top source that I've been using right now to get clean, safe information is cdc.gov, which is official. And I also go through my friends at the Happy Hippie Foundation. Dr. Amen, where do you like to get your information? And what would you say are safe, reliable sources that you like to keep connected with?
So I agree with you. I think cdc.gov is a great source. I also use Johns Hopkins and the Mayo Clinic.
Okay. And then we want to avoid, which you tell me to do this even in, all 365 out of the year. Avoid drama-loving friends, and be careful of gossipy text chains with poor information.
That people are so anxious that they're going to spew it all over others. And like the virus, you don't want to be around someone who's coughing or sneezing. You also don't want to be around someone who's coughing or sneezing toxic information.
Yep. Makes total sense. And so talking about, coughing and sneezing, let's talk about the eye. Let's talk about immune boosters. So we talked yesterday about watching comedies instead of renting Contagion right now. Laughing is a good way to immune boost. What are some other immune supporters?
So you want to get your white blood cells. Those are really the ones that fight the war for you. You want to get them working for you. Vitamin D helps, and you can get that from the sun. Some people also take a supplement. I take a supplement every day. Onions, mushrooms, garlic, and colorful fruits and vegetables all help.
Yep. Okay. And we also talked about if you're somewhere in a part of the world where it's not as sunny, like right now in LA or Nashville, where I'm from, that's been hit with some pretty bad weather. We talked about exercise as an immune booster. So that'll get us to G, which was getting active. And it's easy to feel stuck since, some of us aren't leaving our places, but it doesn't take a lot of space to exercise. And you told me one time when I said that I was working a lot and that I didn't have time to exercise, you said you don't have time to not exercise because I will get sick or be more run down or not have as much energy if I'm not exercising. So it's a good time since we'll have a lot of extra time. None of us really had that excuse. So talk to us about exercising and how that immune boosts as well.
It's the universal treatment. Exercise helps all of the risk factors. And you and I talked about how just 10 minutes can help decrease your worry and boost your mood. So get your heart rate up if you can, and also do coordination exercises. Because that'll activate a very important part of your brain called the cerebellum, which then activates everything else.
And some of the fans are writing now that they're unable to leave their homes, so they're feeling like they can't go to gyms. But let's talk about some of the things that you can do at home, like planks on the floor, push-ups, jumps. The jumps are something if you can't go outside and take a run or get on a treadmill, something that could boost your heart rate.
You probably don't want to be going to public gyms now.
Yeah,
And so the
absolutely.
more you can do at home, and there are videos online where you can just use a chair and just getting up and down works big groups of muscles. Planks are amazing. My 90-year-old dad can beat me in a plank. It's so irritating. But he will literally go for 6 minutes just to beat me. He's that stubborn.
Yeah.
And so having challenges with some of your friends is great. Now, it's always important, don't hurt yourself.
Yep.
If something hurts, don't do it. But the more exercise, the happier you're going to be. And it strengthens your white blood cells, your immune system.
Yep. And laughing and exercising at the same time. So I will probably have a plank competition with one of my siblings today. We're all stuck in here together, and so that will that will make us all laugh. And so we're talking about getting healthy, but let's also talk about healthy anxiety. And this is something again that this is not new with the virus. This is something you've always wanted me to apply, which is having healthy worry. Don't worry, be happy people are the ones that will infect others and end up, hurting the vulnerable. By saying, I'm young, this doesn't affect me. So we want healthy worry. Can we talk about healthy worry?
So I have always been driven and worked hard. And I have an older brother who's totally a don't worry, be happy person, leaves work at 3 o'clock, goes and plays golf. And I sort of always wanted to be like him until I read the research that said, so they did the biggest longevity study ever. They did it over 90 years. And they found that don't worry, be happy people died the earliest from accidents and preventable illnesses. So I don't want you to have too much anxiety. That's bad for you. But you need some that helps you wash your hands appropriately, not obsessively,
Yeah.
to socially isolate, but not, as we talked about, totally isolate. I want you to be concerned so you do the right things. The people who have low frontal lobe function, they often don't worry enough, and it gets them into a lot of trouble in their life.
So what are things that would lower frontal lobe? And what are things that boost?
So exercise boosts frontal lobe function.
Mm-hmm.
The two most important words in the English language are then what. If
Mm-hmm.
I say this, then what happens? If I do this, then what happens? It's eating right, sleep, exercise, knowing what you want. So you and I talk about that. So what do you want? And does your behavior get you what you want? The things that lower frontal lobe function, obsessive worry, not sleeping, alcohol, marijuana, terrible food, those are things that lower frontal lobe function. And when you lower frontal lobe function, you start making bad decisions. And with bad decisions, your health is not as good, your money's not as good, your relationships are not as good.
Yes. So let's talk about thoughts and attention, and how that determines how you feel, and toxins.
So I love what you said. Where you bring your attention determines how you feel. So I know I can get you to cry in like 3 minutes. I just ask you to think about all the things you've lost, all the times you've been embarrassed, and it's like, no, we're not going to do that. I could also make you really happy by thinking of happy memories. And because where I bring my attention to all the incredible stories of heroes now. I read a story last night about a woman. She just goes to the elderly and goes, I'm going to go to the store for you. How can I do that so you don't have to be exposed and still get what you need? I love that. where you bring your focus, your attention will determine how you feel.
Yeah. And then some of the toxins will affect that also. That will affect our attention. So we talked about toxins, and we talked about memories are a good way to feel great anywhere, anytime. So anchor yourself to where you are by thinking of beautiful memories, even if that's, you said, maybe walking by a kitchen and thinking about your grandfather and what a great cook he was, or for me, sometimes I just noticed that I had a red sweater in a suitcase I hadn't unpacked, and it made me think about my aunt who always had red lipstick on her teeth. And so talking about memories and how you can anchor them to wherever you are, whether that's on the street, whether that's in your classroom, whether that's in your living room, anchoring yourself to memories.
So this is a really cool exercise. So I call it feel great anytime, anywhere. And what I want you to do, what I want your fans to do, is write down 10 of your best memories.
Yeah.
And then as you walk through your house, anchor them. So for example, the day I married Tana, clearly the best day of my life. And when we were doing our wedding dance, I almost dropped her. And so, and so what I do is the memory is at the front door, because the front of my house, I'm carrying her over and I almost drop her, I don't. But I just start laughing about, one, how important she is, and a very special memory. And then as I go in the kitchen, there's my grandfather, who I was named after, who was my best friend growing up, and he was a candy maker. And so now he's at the stove making a healthier version of chocolate fudge. And I can just walk through my house and pick these great memories, so that whenever I'm feeling anxious or I'm feeling sad, I can go back to where I bring my attention determines how I feel. And I have these anchors of really great memories. Too often, sad memories get attached to certain things, songs and so on, that. And so let's purposefully anchor happy memories to the spaces in your house.
Absolutely. And then we had I of Bright Minds for inflammation. So we were talking about sugar is inflammatory. What other ways can we fight inflammation? And what does inflammation do to us in our brain?
So inflammation is just a disaster for your body. It's where your white blood cells get angry and they start attacking you. And it's a major cause of both depression and dementia. And the things that are pro-inflammatory, they increase inflammation. Sugar, it's the number one pro-inflammatory substance. Processed foods, being low in omega-3 fatty acids, having gum disease, because if your gums are not healthy, then that allows inflammation in your body. So floss, eat as healthy as you can. And I know in a pandemic that's hard, but you're always asking yourself, am I going to eat this or that? Compared to what? What is my healthiest choice? And too often people go for sugar because it's a comfort food. It's a short-term fix that will cause a long-term problem. And then if you can, fish has healthy omega-3 fatty acids, as does avocados, green leafy vegetables, nuts, seeds. All of those things are brain healthy.
I love what you just said about eating clean and healthy in a pandemic can be really tough, because I know that some people feel like this is a time where they're going to have, less choices and less, options to choose from. And I just think so many of my fans right now, I see how happy they are to know that it's not about eating perfectly. It's about doing the best that you can in the situation that you're in.
Right. And so just go compared to what? If I have these three choices, well, which one is healthy for me? And just one other point with inflammation is your gut health is so important to your brain health. And I'm sort of happy all the bars are closed, because alcohol is directly toxic to the healthy bugs in your gut. So I know, again, it's a short-term fix that, again, will cause a long-term problem. So less alcohol during this time is a smart thing to do so you can maintain your wits, but also the healthy bugs in your gut.
Absolutely. And then, negative thoughts was in. So we were talking about the ants. This is an exercise that literally, I think, saved my life probably 10 years ago when I first started seeing you at 16 or 17. Ants were completely invading my brain, which are the automatic negative thoughts that I believed every single one that I would have. Every one that crawled into my skull, I believed every stupid thought. I gave myself physical symptoms of things that I didn't even have because I convinced myself in anxiety that I was sick or that my mother was sick or what I would do if I was ever single. And there was just so many ants that I would die if I didn't have a boyfriend or be in a relationship. Obviously, that is not true. So let's talk about negative thoughts and how we can save ourselves from being alive, eaten alive by the ants.
So every time you have a thought, your brain releases chemicals. Every single time. Whenever you have an anxious thought, an angry thought, a hopeless or helpless thought, your brain releases chemicals and your body responds immediately, and it feels panic, terror, fear, and headaches and tension. Every time you have a happy thought, a hopeful thought, your brain releases chemicals that make you feel peaceful and better. Thoughts are automatic, they just happen, and they lie all the time. And I came up with the acronym ANTS, automatic negative thoughts, many years ago because I just saw it in my patients is they were being assaulted by these little critters that link with each other, stack on top of each other, and then they attack you.
Mm-hmm.
And you do not have to believe every stupid thing you think. So here's the exercise to kill the ants. Whenever you feel sad or mad or nervous or out of control, write down what you're thinking and ask yourself, is it true? Can I absolutely know this is true? The world is ending. Everything's going to hell. Is that true? I actually went to the grocery store today. I went and saw my dentist today. No, the world is not ending. It's mostly the ants and they're driven by social media. They're driven by the news. They're what's jumping on us, ruining our immune system. Mm-hmm. So this one exercise, writing down what you think, and I don't know when you were a teenager, to have an idea. When I was a teenager, I was really good at talking back to my parents, really good. But no one ever taught me to talk back to myself, to just not believe every stupid thing I think. And I have the sense you were good at talking back. And you want to have that sort of attitude with yourself.
Yep. Absolutely. I was good at that. You've had many sessions with my mom on the opposite couch. And so D of Bright Minds, they're getting close to the end. Let's talk about dedicating 15 minutes a day minimum to learning something new, a new skill. And it doesn't take much, and what it does for blood flow. And for me, just learning something new does so much to feel hopeful. And it gives me, I know that I'm a smart, intelligent person that can learn new skills. And it just makes you feel really good about yourself. And I think all of us could use that just to feel good about ourselves. So what would you say about learning something new and what it does for our brain?
So whenever you learn something new, your brain makes a new connection and it actually grows stronger. This is why during this time of isolation, I don't want people just binge watching TV. That's not good for them. I want them learning an instrument, writing songs, reading, doing something that actively engages your mind. Because new learning happens in a part of the brain called the hippocampus, which is Greek for seahorse. And the hippocampus is involved in memory, learning, and mood. So when you're learning new things, you're strengthening your brain, but you're also improving your mood. And so just 15 minutes a day, in a year, you'll be an expert at that. In 5 years, you'll be a national expert. So pick something you love that's not going to scare the socks off you.
And you know how much I love animals. So Dr. Amen used that I was a seahorse murderer to make me stop smoking weed. You're killing all the seahorses. You don't love animals?
Well, because the hippocampus is Greek for seahorse,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes 700 new babies, baby stem cells every day. And so what you put in your body is either growing the seahorses, and then when you have new learning, you're exercising the seahorses. But if you're smoking pot, if you're drinking alcohol, if you're flooded with negative thoughts, the stress hormones shrink the babies. You don't want to be a seahorse murderer.
Yeah, you made me feel even worse. You said I killed baby seahorses. Um, and then so S, at the very end of Bright Minds, we were talking about sleep and how important sleep is, which is also why it's crucial that we don't look at all of this news, 15 minutes before bedtime. Also watching the binge watching of the TV shows, guilty, before bed also wakes us up and doesn't get us into a deep sleep. So why is deep sleep so important?
Because it helps heal your brain. If you go, what's the one thing I can do for my brain and my mind right now? It's focus on getting 7.5 to 9 hours of sleep every day. This is what's going to help your immune system. When we sleep, the brain cleans and washes itself.
Mm-hmm.
It helps to consolidate all the things you learn during the day. It sets your mood up to be better. And so light in the morning, even blue light from gadgets is fine, but after dark, you want to get them out of your eyes because they turn off the production of melatonin that helps you sleep. You also want to be really careful with caffeine because caffeine, especially afternoon, is
Yep.
going to start messing with your sleep. And a lot of people watching may be using alcohol at night to sleep. And yes, that may put you to sleep, but it damages REM sleep, which is dreaming sleep, which is not good because that's where it helps you with creativity and so on. So alcohol is also a diuretic, meaning if you have alcohol before bed, you're going to have to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. So sleep hygiene is so important. I have a new book called The End of Mental Illness, and in it, sleep is really one of the cornerstones of keeping your brain healthy.
Yep. And we were talking about your book, and then also, I think on your app, are there any other apps that you like? Some of my fans are writing they have a really hard time falling asleep. Are there apps or any exercises you can do that can help quiet the mind?
Oh, I love our app. It's called Brain Fit Life, mybrainfitlife.com. And on it is a hypnosis audio that I make for sleep. It's the most popular part of the app. But there's also music that's scientifically designed to help people sleep. Music, meditation, hypnosis can be just so powerful. And with sleep, actually, with all of these habits, you want to avoid things that hurt it. So bright light at night, chronic worries, not getting rid of the ants, alcohol, caffeine, avoid things that hurt it, and then do things that help it. And a dark room, a quiet room, unless you have music that puts you to sleep, don't fall asleep with the television on. Make it a little bit cooler. The brain likes that when it goes to sleep. And if you find you have these repetitive worries, have a little journal by your bed and write down what's looping in your head and
Yep.
write down what you can do about it and what you can't do about it. You always want to stay focused on what you can do. But I find when you write it out, it stops looping because you got it out of your head and onto paper.
I
And
like
then,
that. I like the idea of what you can't do also, because for someone that kind of struggles sometimes with control, and when things are out of my control, it gives me a lot of anxiety and fear. And I think that it's really a nice thought that we can write down what we can do about it, but things that we can't, as well. And just learning how to have that acceptance. Because right now we have to kind of accept that we don't have all the answers, that it's all unfolding every day and we're all learning and it's uniting us because we're all getting the information at the same time. But knowing that this isn't something that one of us can take care of, but if each of us do our part to not spread disease and to protect the vulnerable, then we can actually make a really big difference. So it just gives us a lot of optimism to know that one person can't change everything, but they can in a way, because it takes 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. And all of my fans and, you know, our trendsetters, they're the coolest kids on the planet. And so I know that by us having this conversation, and then by them knowing how cool it is to take care of one another, and protecting the vulnerable populations with lower immune system or the elderly, there are things we can't do, but there are definitely things that we can.
Well, and you want to be the model. Here at Amen Clinics, our core value is authenticity. So what does that mean? We live the message. That people go, well, how do I change my wife? Or how do I change my boyfriend? Is you live these Bright Minds principles. And when you live it, you feel better, and other people are going to want what you have.
We talked
And
about
so,
brain envy.
brain envy. Yes, Freud was wrong. He was about 2.5 feet too low. The thing you want to envy is the 3 pounds of fat between your ears, because your brain runs everything you do and everything you are. So you want to love and care for it.
And then so the S that I added was share, because, you know, we talked this morning actually. Talk to me about how sharing this information is so important.
Well, I think I told you I did the Daniel plan at Saddleback Church with Rick Warren, and we've had thousands of churches do the program. And what I learned is when you get these Bright Minds principles, when you give them away to someone you care about, what you're doing is you're actually creating your own support group, making it more likely you will stay on the program forever. So I'm so proud of you for sharing this with your fans, because by doing that, it just means you're going to have more supportive people in your life helping you do the right things to keep your brain and body healthy.
And it was hard when I was going through getting sober last year, and I felt kind of alone in this. And now seeing that I had 15,000 people watching today, where I have 15,000 allies, and people that will share this same structure with me, the Bright Mind structure, it just makes me feel so supported. And I think right now that's something that all of us can really benefit from, because, you know, when you hear the words social distancing and isolation and quarantine, it's very scary, because you feel like you're going to lose connection, but that's not the truth. That's an ant. We all are able to connect. I'm connecting with 15,000 people right now, as are you, and we can be more connected than ever, because we're so fortunate to live in a time where we're not divided, because we have these devices of connection.
As long as we use them in a thoughtful way, it's one of the best times ever.
Yep. And so I'm going to ask my fans to share pictures or videos of them actively using the Bright Minds exercise. So whether that's doing your planks, your push-ups, maybe take a photo of something that anchored you. You talked about, you know, having a memory, something in your house that reminds you of someone or a time in your life or something that you loved. Take a picture and tell us that story. You know, just show us the way that you're using the exercise, and I'm going to share that on my stories and repost the way that you guys are being bright-minded. Everyone's so quick to share the bad news, but if we could start a trend of sharing the good news and share only what is helpful and not hurtful. We've talked for so many years about, even if I go into my pantry before I choose a snack, before I grab a jar of weed, before I choose to pour another shot, or to go out with a group of friends that keep me vulnerable, we ask, is this going to be helpful, or is it going to be hurtful? And if it's going to be hurtful, then we do not participate in it.
And it's all about love, right? I mean, the one tiny habit that just is the most important thing to do today is, whenever you're going to do something, ask yourself, is this good for my brain or bad for it? And if you can answer that question with information and love, you love yourself, you love your partner, you love your children, you love your family. You make the right decision. So it's never about deprivation. Oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. That's a 4-year-old's attitude. It's doing the right thing to keep you healthy and happy. That's about love.
Thank you so much for spending time with all of us. And you've just been so beneficial to my life. And before I even got to meet you, just, you know, there was a time where I was almost paralyzed in fear of being able to fly. I'd get to the gate and all of a sudden my legs would stop working where I couldn't go forward to get myself to walk and sit on the plane. I was so scared to travel, which does not work very well for someone whose job is to travel around the world and perform for people. And so before I could actually be in your office and have this connection with you, reading your books and using your exercises helped me so much. So I'm just so fortunate to get to share you with the 15,000 people that watch today. And I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Miley.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amen. Bye, everyone. Thank you.